All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, March 7th, 2022. I'm Chad Zumach, the captain, Florida's greatest. With me is Tony Mazer. Mondays with Mazer. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing well. How are you? How are you in this? Well, it's rainy here in Akron, Ohio, but yeah, March 7th, doing well. Little sore today from another weekend of softball and too much alcohol and edibles, but I made it here on Monday morning on time. And we're actually doing this early today. I'm surprised because normally we usually record these. I'm going to break the fourth wall right now. We usually record these around like noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And no, we're doing bright and early at 9 o'clock today.
Yeah, I have a lot to do. I've had the most productive week of my life in the past 3 years. I'm like getting shit done. I don't know what happened. This beast inside of me just came out and I'm like motivated. It just came from out of nowhere. And I'm just like getting shit done. And I'm like, how do I fit Mondays with Mazer in? I got to get up earlier.
It goes in waves because every time, when you and I have talked the last, 7 years, every time you're like, you know what? Fuck stand up. Fuck doing comedy and everything. I can't stand the grind, everything. All of a sudden, as soon as you say that, something motivates you. And then you're booking gigs and you've got this and this and this going on. So it's almost like you have to keep that pessimistic attitude. And then things start to really turn around for you after that. Like you can't just go, wow, everything's going great right now. Look, because when everything goes great, that's when everything's going to go to shit.
There's a reason why David tells miserable 24/7, just miserable, constantly. What's going on? I hate myself. Whatever.
What's Kevin Brennan's excuse?
Oh well, yeah, that's a whole other animal. I mean, misery does really love company with that guy. I mean, the misery brings him down completely. But right now it is 75 degrees in Tampa, and I don't know what it is. You ever when I get on my bike in the mornings? I ride my bike in the mornings. I'm getting really disciplined about my diet and all that. But I swear to God, every time I get a bike and it's sunny out, you remember the song by the Bangles, "Crazy Hate of Summer"?
I probably have heard it, yeah.
Of course you have.
I just know I know Manic Monday. I know some Bangles songs, but
now it's driving me crazy.
Is Gladwell Ape going to be upset with me that I don't know this, or is he going to be upset with you that you do know that?
It goes either way with him. You never know.
He surprises me with his music taste because he'll be like, yeah, Mazer's his taste in music really sucks. And then he'll say, okay, I like that you like that song.
I'm sorry, it's Crazy a Shade of Winter.
Okay.
Song, right?
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard it at a Giant Eagle that we have up here.
Oh, yeah, it's a good shopping song. It's a long opening. I gotta wait till it kicks in. God, it's a Crazy Shade of Winter. Anyways, this is so dumb to get to the point. That song, like when I get on my bike and I see the sun out, that song pops in my head. It's just like,
do you play it and you just start cycling a little harder?
I don't play it. It just comes into my head. Like,
okay.
You ever just have a random song that just pops in your head in weird times?
I was on the treadmill last week and I realized what a great song the song Sex Ima by Berlin was on the treadmill. Do you know that song? No. I'm a man, I'm a goddess, I'm a bitch, it's a good, there's certain songs that I'm not going to, because I'll be honest, you think when you're lifting and you're going to listen to like Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, Ozzy, you're listening to some like metal, like Slipknot. Sometimes I sit there and listen to like cheesy 90s pop music and it kind of just has a good beat to it where I can go I'm on the bench and I'll be like, okay, I'll listen to friggin' Torn by Natalie Imbruglia right now.
There's one of Madonna's first singles, Burning Up.
Mm-hmm.
It was, that song?
Yes, I do.
That song pumps me up for some reason. I don't know why it gets me going.
It's weird because sometimes you'll put on some of these cheesy 80s music. And again, they're not great songs. I mean, like Jim Florentine does enough 80s music podcasts. that song wasn't good in 1984. It's not good now. So, but you know what? Every so often, that's why certain songs, they're good for what they can do. Like as far as if you're at the gym, if it's in the background, whatever the case is. I'm not saying that they should win Grammys, but they're good enough songs where I can at least get my workout done. That's the only goal of putting music on anyways, just to get my workout done.
I'll like randomly be singing that for some reason.
Speaking of 80s guitar and cheesy pop songs, Lover Girl by Tina Marie is an amazing song with great guitar work. And again, it's like, I want to be your lover girl. And you go, boy, what? Like every time I put it on for somebody, they're like, what am I listening to? What is this? And I say, wait till the guitar solo. And they're like, this solo doesn't even fit this song because it's so good and the song sucks so bad.
It's not that good, huh?
No, but it's a Prince protege, Tina Marie.
Oh, yes, like, that's right. That's right.
Was it Square Biz was one of her big songs? But yeah. No, you know, it's funny because you mentioned Madonna. You know who would have been a great guest for your podcast, my podcast,
Madonna,
our podcast?
Madonna.
Well, nah, not Madonna. You know, I want Otto Peterson from Otto and George.
Oh, okay.
And Otto was talking about this on I think it was on Unmasked with Ron Bennington. And he said that when he was starting when he was in New York and, you know, he was starting to do a lot of the clubs, you would have a lot of these clubs that would do music and comedy. And he said Madonna opened for him. He said Madonna was just some smelly bohemian girl from, you know, Greenwich Village with the hair under her armpits and a big furry pussy. And she would just go up there and do stuff. And she did that for a long time, including at Z100 in New York, of just like hanging out outside the studios, just going like, hey, can you please play my music? And boy, did they. But yeah, Otto has had all those stories about driving John Belushi around, driving a very young Eddie Murphy around. Yes, Otto actually did have a car at one time, I guess. But those are some stories that I wish he was still alive to have on a podcast. Yeah, did you ever get a chance to meet Otto?
I never met Otto, but I knew of him when he was alive. He used to be neighbors with Florentine. I knew that. They were neighbors. They would walk dogs together, which is
he'd be like, yeah, me and Florentine, we live down the street. We could walk our gay little dogs every day together.
Didn't he have a story like he would drive Eddie Murphy around and Eddie Murphy would pretend like he was asleep so he wouldn't have to pay tolls?
That's correct. Yep, that was one of them. But he would do like the Curly Howard, like he would do like the comedic snoring.
Yeah, it was like a fake sleep.
Yeah, man, those stories, those comedy stories are just. I went to the Comedy Museum over in Jamestown. I recommend it for a lot of people. If anybody's going from like Cleveland to Buffalo, or you're going from New York to Chicago, stop off in Jamestown. That's a cool little place. That okay. The Comedy Museum. It's because it has a lot of others. The problem is they have a lot of recent comedy, so they'll talk about The Office and Parks and Rec and some of these sitcoms of the last like 10,
ooh, I want to see the Amy Schumer exhibit.
There is an Amy Schumer. I remember I saw like an inside
really?
Amy Schumer thing. Yeah.
Oh,
like
God.
Not a whole like wing of the museum, but it was like, oh, we're really proving how we go from SNL and SCTV in the 70s and 80s. And then we're like, then here's what we have today. We have memes and we have Inside Amy Schumer and we have podcasts like WTF featuring Marc Maron. Great.
Well, Marc Maron's, I mean, he was, say what you want, what his podcast has become. It was revolutionary. I mean,
it was for its time. Yeah.
It just kind of ran its course. It became a fucking,
it's the Tonight Show right now. Yeah.
Seth Meyers. It's just a junket. Like, you know, I'm promoting my movie coming out or whatever the case may be, but it did do something at one point. I mean, Barack Obama, when he was president, went on there, and that was kind of a big deal at the time.
It was a cultural, well, he was going on the cultural tour because he did that. And then he did the, was it South by Southwest Festival? I was gonna say North by Northwest. Yeah, he did that. So he was trying to be like the cool president when he leaves, and everybody's gonna miss him. But the podcasting now, let me ask you this. I was thinking about this.
First of all, Barack, you're not cool until you go on the Burtcast, pal.
That's right. He needs to go on Burtcast, and he needs to go on Misery Loves Company, and then he needs to go on In Hot Water. Although I think he's probably been on In Hot Water, but with his face superimposed.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about this with podcasting, because I think on In Hot Water, they were talking about that, about how Rogan's podcast, what he's doing now is taking kind of the concept, a similar concept to what Marc Maron was doing 12, 13 years ago. And Maron just kind of fell into the Hollywood thing, whereas Rogan took it in a more conversational output instead of just promotional tour. When was the first time you heard about a podcast, like what a podcast is? And did you get it at the time? Like when somebody said, no, here's what we're going to do. It's like a radio show, but we're going to put it online. You're going to get it on your phone or on your computer, and you can listen to an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 40 minutes, whatever it is.
I can answer without all the details. Mm-hmm. Adam Carolla.
Okay.
That was the first time I was like, oh, okay. He's doing a podcast. He's a radio show on a podcast.
So it was it was one of those where you got it immediately, or did you wonder how viable it was going to be? Like, who's going to listen to this at this time?
I got it immediately. I know what he was doing. It was just trying to, he was like, listen, he goes, I know what the future is. I'm going to bypass whatever the bullshit, the operations manager, the sales staff, the head of sales, what's the fucking, the whole department of whatever, what do you always get in trouble with?
Oh, HR.
Yeah. HR, like he's like, fuck all that. I'll just do the show on the podcast. And no, that's when I got it real quick. But at the time, for me, it was like, okay, well, not a lot of people like my Aunt Sharon I always go to, because she's my number one demo of what's cool and what's not, because she has no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Aunt Sharon, she's still watching the news. She's still doing a lot of that.
Yeah. She's watching 3, 5, and 8, Fox, the news, everything. So she didn't know what it was, and she still doesn't know what it is. So that's why it's still not a thing to most people, especially a lot of people in Northeast Ohio who still are stuck to the dial, and that's the reason why you have a job.
That's what, exactly. I have to kiss those people's asses right now. Yeah. Otherwise, I would be looking to try to monetize my podcast, because that was the big thing for me. Was I got it too, because I was working in internet radio at the time. And I worked at an internet station before I worked in regular radio.
I think I went on one of your internet shows once, right?
You were, yes, with Glenn Moore. Yeah, and that was 2010. But what I made sure to do was, they weren't called podcasts; they were called archives. And you would archive your radio show. So if we were going to do a show on the internet, okay, well, did you miss it today? Well, if you missed it, it's not one of those cases where in regular radio is, hey, you missed Howard Stern this morning? Yeah, that was a good time. Oh, you didn't get a chance to hear it? Well, sucks to be you. Guess you got to wake up earlier then, asshole. That's what regular radio was for so long. And when the internet radio and podcasting, they kind of said, hey, guys, did you miss the show today? Don't worry, we have it archived on our website. And I was doing that as early as 2007. And I got it immediately because, okay, you can't get it live. Kind of like what Kumia is doing right now. What is, you can catch it live, or you can catch it in a couple hours in the archive. And I kind of like that. I like that model, at least at the time. But the problem and it's still the problem to this day, although it's a little bit different, is the monetization. How do you make money from that? So, okay, so you have a USB microphone, or you have a switch, you have a mixing board, you have this and that, and then you put it up there. How are you going to promote it? And how are you going to make money off it? And that was one of my biggest hurdles why I delayed making a podcast for so long. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to put it out there. 6 people are going to listen to it, and I'm not going to have one sponsor, like what's going to happen here? So luckily I've changed my tune with it, and I still don't have sponsors, but I get a couple more people listening than 6.
I'm aggressively looking for sponsors right now. I'm not waiting for them to come to me anymore. I'm going after them. As that's one of the things I've been doing this week. I just kind of hitting up people, showing them my Libsyn stats. And I'm talking to 2 of them right now. So I'm like, fuck this. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm going after them. And I'm my own sales staff right now. I'm doing the sales. I'm the producer. I'm the director. I'm the host. So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to get Mondays with Mazer. I want to get a premier sponsor. I want a fucking I want the thing that sponsors this thing. Like we're coming from 1-800 Safe Auto Studios. I want to do something like that.
Broadcasting live from the Silk City Hot Sauce Studios. Oh wait, no,
They
that's
had their
on mine.
chance. they fucking Jeff Levine fucked it up. They had their chance. Fuck them. Fuck Silk City. That's Snake Oilsman. You scumbag. You came at me. You tried to be a fucking, oh, yeah, you're the very first podcast I advertised on. And next thing you know, he's on Chrissy Mayer in Silk City and he's talking shit about me. Fuck that dude in Vermont. Fuck his hot sauce. It's not that good anyway. I feel like I've been scammed. Fuck him. I'll get another hot sauce. I'm going to get a better presenting hot sauce. And I'm going to put him out of business.
Find a hot sauce up in Vermont.
I'm going to.
That's like across the street. It's kind of like what Arthur Blank did with Home Depot. Is that Home Depot did that where they would go up to the mom and pop, they would go to the mom and pop hardware store that would sell their tools for this price, and then be like, "Yeah, we're going to build right across the street from you, and we're going to sell our tools for half the price." So it just put everybody out of business. So that's what you'll do. You'll invest in big hot sauce. I didn't know, there's big tobacco, big pharma, big everything, but big hot sauce is big business now.
I might actually hit up Frank's Red Hot Sauce that's in every store. Just go corporate.
Put that shit on everything.
Just to be a spiteful prick.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But here's the thing. You want to know the very first podcast I ever listened to, and I know this. Is that Celsius Energy?
No, that's C4.
Okay,
it's good stuff. This is what I did. This gets me going.
I drink Celsius Heat.
This stuff will make me be like the Kool-Aid man. I'm running through walls and my balls start to tingle. It's just wonderful.
Ooh. The very first podcast I ever listened to, and you're gonna love this. It was the Maxwell Show when they interviewed Chris Cornell.
Ooh.
Because I remember they would
How'd
break
that
it.
go?
They would break it down in segments on podcasting, and I remember I had to like figure out how to do it was like 2007 or something. Chris Cornell came in studio. And I was like, I got to hear this fucking, I remember thinking this fucking idiot interviewed Chris Cornell. And sure enough, he did not let me down. He sounded like a fucking amateur, an idiot, a fanboy. It was a terrible interview. You could tell Chris Cornell is a professional. He kept it going, kept it moving. And he was asking terrible questions and Cornell was being professional. And I go, these guys are fucking, Dan Stansberry came off like just a fucking, he should have been a janitor in that interview. That's how skillful he was as a broadcast. I just remember going, these guys stink.
You mean wait, Stansberry's not a janitor? What's he doing now? Oh wait, he's going directly against me on middays on another station that plays similar music.
I don't know how he sounds now. I know he's it sounds like he's doing an imitation of a broadcaster when I hear his voice tracks on WMMS. He's like he grew up listening to people voice tracking, so he's over animated and loud and quick and fast. But at the time, him talking to Chris Cornell, I go, this guy is terrible. They just throw anybody on the air there, I guess. I just remember listening to that. That was the one that stuck out.
Yeah. It's tough because especially when Chris Cornell is such a big celebrity, and for people who grew up listening to that kind of music, that, in some ways you think about like I'm sure that interview kind of sounded like a fanboy who had never done a celebrity interview was told, hey, do you want to interview Chris Cornell today? That's probably how it sounded.
It was like Chris Farley show. They were like, you remember when you wrote Black Hole Sun? That was awesome. That's what I swear to God, that's what it was like.
You remember Audio Slave? They were cool.
That was awesome. And Tom Morello, and he's making those noises. That was cool.
Well, that's where that's the one thing about being in broadcasting in any kind of feeling where we talk to our idols, that we have like access, whether you're doing comedy, you're doing radio, you're doing any type of media, we have access that the normal people do not have. And it really is a privilege, but you have to leave that at the door when you're going in there. So you can be a fanboy, like you're with Andrew Dice Clay one night. You grew up listening to Dice, and now you're hanging out with him and Florentine, a couple other people, and you're like, this is awesome. But you have to temper that, and you can't just go like, hey, yeah, remember you did that the day the laughter died, and that was really cool. Yeah, okay. I don't need to be reminded of my work. So you have to act like you're one of his peers too. And that's the one thing about being in broadcasting, is that you can't just completely gush over an interview that you're getting. You have to leave that professionalism there. I mean, I've done that many times where I've been in locker rooms and I'm next to people. Like I remember one time, yeah, there it is with Dice. That's awesome. Is he kissing you?
Yeah.
Wow.
He planned this shoot. He goes, let's sit on the stoop like this, like we're just hanging out being cool.
Oh,
that
that's
was his
awesome.
idea. That was his idea.
See, you have that photo, and I have, let me pull it up here. I have a photo with somebody who's just as big, if not bigger, in the world of comedy.
The Dustin Diamond. I can't tell.
Gallagher.
Oh, Jesus. Why you guys have your shirts off? Were you like trying to do Burt impressions?
He had his shirt off, and I was going to talk to him, and he's like, well, I can't be the only one with my shirt off. You have to take yours. So he starts taking my shirt off, and I'm looking around the bar going, okay, Gallagher is taking my shirt off right now.
Was he gay?
No, Gallagher, he was out of his mind. He was banned from the club. I've probably told this story on whether my podcast or this one, but
have.
I'll do the quick version of it is that Pete at the Funny Stop, our home club, booked Gallagher for a weekend to do 2 shows Friday and 2 shows Saturday. And the first show Friday went extremely long. This is when Pete was still doing 8 and 10:30, which we had to tell him, Pete, you can't do a 10:30 show for a late show anymore. It's not New York City. We're not at the Comedy Cellar. So he was still doing 10:30 shows. So the 8 o'clock show ended at 10:45. Then they have to not only break down the tables, but have to clean up after him smashing everything on the stage. So the show didn't start until 11:45. Gallagher went on stage at about midnight, didn't leave the stage until 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And was just, he was coughing. He was saying, words like fag and retard and everything, things that we say on this podcast.
I like him now.
I know, I do too. And then he was hacking. Like I thought he was going to have a heart attack on stage. And it's not just, it's, I'm like, he's going to die tonight. And he ended up getting banned the rest of the weekend and from the club because it's like he's at Gino Bisconti levels of banned from the Funny Stop because afterward he went into the kitchen. He asked Pete's son what he's making over there. He said, oh, this chicken fingers. He's like, chicken fingers? You're serving death to people. Do you understand my cholesterol? And I've had heart attacks. And someone heckled and he walked off stage and everybody had to get their money back. It was a terrible show, but
yeah,
that's the Funny Stop. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get Gallagher on a Saturday night in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio.
That's what you get. That's what you get for booking Gallagher instead of me.
Or Dustin. Although I think you do have a possible date, right?
In August, end of August.
Yes. Okay.
As of right now, I we'll see what it is. But anyways, going back to Gino Bisconti, what's with this little cocaine tour he's going on? What's going on with Gino? Everyone seems to be worried and sending me messages. They're saying he's kind of out of his mind as of late, and then he booked a trip to LA, canceled a show. And he's hanging out with that Bronson Jones. Listen, I know Bronson Jones. He's a nice guy. But when you hear Bronson Jones, the very first thing you should think of is cocaine, period. I know Bronson Jones. I mean, there was the old joke that Brian McCarthy was hanging out with Brody Stevens on New Year's, did coke with him. It was Bronson Jones.
Yes.
I mean, Kate Quigley, Bronson Jones. I mean, Bronson Jones does cocaine, period.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's flying out to hang out with Bronson Jones, he's doing coke, period.
Well, he apparently has his girlfriend that's out there that lives in Manhattan Beach. And Gino is, because he was supposed to do our football podcast the other day, or at least we reached out and he was on the flight going to LA. And, we've kind of talked about it many times about there's no reason to go to New York and there's certainly no reason to go to LA anymore. Sorry.
Well, New York, they just lifted the mandates. So I'm going to go there in August to see Rage Against the Machine at Madison Square Garden, do some spots. And then go in studio with Cumia to shut him up. And that's another story. We'll get to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going out there. But yeah, Bronston's a guy. I mean, because Gino's 53 years old. You gotta stop doing cocaine. I mean,
period.
Look, I mean, we talk about doing a little, like our good buddy who's also about that age in Hot Carl. And Hot Carl did one thing where he tells the story. He was like, so I was going to Bobby O's and I was walking in and I saw a couple of guys in the bathroom doing a little booger sugar. And they said, hey, you're not a narc, are you, Hot Carl? And I said, no. It's like, well, you want a hit? And I promised myself I wasn't going to do cocaine after 50, but when at Bobby O's, hot Carl. And
plus I didn't want him to think I was a narc.
but it's like, okay, hot Carl does that because that's who he is. But you can't, I mean, I'm in my mid 30s now. I can't even do cocaine really anymore.
So, I mean, and you got your friend, Aaron Berg, who's literally went to the hospital because he almost had a stroke. I mean, you might want, I look at shit like that as wake up calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I'm completely off the sauce. I'm done. I am on the straight and narrow. I am fucking killing it. I am, because I just, you see things and it kind of wakes you up. You're like, oh, wait. Okay. And it's like cold water to the face, a smack to the face. Like, what are you doing? Get your fucking head out, get focused. And that's,
yeah.
So if I see Aaron Berg in the hospital because he almost had a stroke, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should start cleaning it up a little bit. And Gino's going in the opposite direction.
I'm surprised Aaron's back is not killing him from carrying that entire network, because that's why he's stressed, because he's booking his own shows. He's booking the compound shows. He's doing the promotion for it. He's helping with the t-shirt direction and merchandise and everything. And so 2 weeks ago when we were doing this podcast, right in the middle of it, I just looked and I saw it said Aaron was in the hospital. And I'm like, is this a bit? And no, his blood pressure was at 200 over 140, which is you're about to have a stroke right now. And Aaron turns 50 this year. So, which is weird because he's like one of the younger people on that network. But he really desperately needs an assistant. I don't know who that's going to be, but he needed to book those shows. And especially because if Aaron's not at a place like the Funny Stop, they're not going to want to book Anthony and Gino because Gino can't headline a show. Anthony's not going to be a part of it. It's just going to be just a debaucherous night. Now, I'm not saying it won't be fun, but Aaron's the reason. It's the structure of putting something together. And that's why I kind of felt bad for Aaron. As fun as it was hanging out with Gino and Aaron, or Gino and Anthony last year and getting drunk and throwing around, different slogans and everything. It's fun, but it's still a comedy show. And that's where I felt bad for Aaron as he's watching Gino on stage go, hey, faggot, this guy's a faggot, you're a faggot, everybody's a faggot, you're a cunt, faggot, whore, faggot. And when you're just like, God, this is pathetic now. This is a man in his 50s who is just in such bad shape right now. And again, by the way, Gino, if you're listening to this, I love you, man.
I love you. I love him too, but it's just,
it's a concern for a lot of people. And
people had concerns about me and they pulled me aside. I'm not perfect by any means. We all know that, but I've gotten pulled aside by certain comics like, hey, get your head in the game. And this is one of those getting your head in the game moments. Like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing?
I'm not saying this to be like a fatherly figure because he's old enough to be my father, but it's kind of one of those cases where you just go, you're not 25 anymore. And so I don't know how their comedians or the compounds have been since last year's Funny Stop, if they've been on their best behavior. Apparently, when they were in Chicago the weekend before, Garrett and maybe Steve or one of the other guys in the booth were taking, like, Gino was about to get a drink and they're like, no, here, how about you have a water this time? And then you just, oh, good idea. And we'll drink water. Good job. That's what you're supposed to do. Although I think it's like, it goes in waves with alcoholism, because I think if you're somebody who drinks a lot in your teens, it's like, ooh, wow, he's a drunk in his teens. Then you're a drunk in your 20s. That's kind of fun. Then you're a drunk in your 30s. You go, it's starting to get a little old. Aren't you getting a little old for this kind of drinking? Then your 40s, it's like, God, this is really pathetic. But then it becomes charming again in your 50s. It's like, wow, an old drunk. This is great. You remind me of my grandfather.
Well, mine came to a head a couple weeks ago. I was like, I talked about off camera with you and a couple other people, but that whole court thing for a year and a half was stressing me out.
Yeah.
And then I had all the trolls and everybody coming at me with misinformation, and it was just really wearing on me. It just was dragged out, and it was such a roller coaster of emotions of what was going on. At one point it was getting thrown out, then it wasn't. And then, so it was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't know. At one point I'm here being told this, then it's this. Now I know what the fuck's going on. And I have, like, I could see light on the other side. And I'm just like, I was drinking to cope with that because I was, then I just cut it out. I'm like, okay, now I have a lane. Now I know where I need to go. Now I need to know what I need to do. And, you know, again, I will talk about it in detail when I can, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, this is all I will say. When it's all said and done, it'll be sealed and nothing ever happened. And that's all I will say when it's all said and done.
Well, that's the biggest part, is what to deal with when you have tragedy, when you have unfortunate circumstances, and it's how you respond to it. And that's why, and this is the only thing I'll say about COVID today. The only thing I'll say in this podcast, Dustin, is those people that were on the right track 2 years ago went back to it. And I know you were kind of in that realm of somebody who was really, you know, you're getting gigs, and you were in New York, and you said, fuck it, Los Angeles, I'm going to New York. I'm going to be with these comics. I'm going to be a staple in the New York comedy scene, that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and you couldn't do anything. And you were one of the people I felt bad for the most around that time, were people who've had problems with alcohol or problems with drugs or problems with gambling and other types of addiction that couldn't do anything other than drink. I mean, what do? We closed the AA and NA meetings and left the liquor stores open, and the gyms and the churches and everything. But we left the liquor stores and the grocery stores that have liquor and beer areas open. So what do? We just brought more people into, you know, addiction. And if people are starting to find, now that mandates are being dropped everywhere, people are kind of finding their way again. But the damage has been done. And there's a lot of people who are in your boat.
The statistic I read about people that died from addiction from COVID, if the news honed in on that, nobody would be drinking right now. If they just honed in on the deaths of COVID addictions, I mean, it's I forgot the exact number, but it's insane.
It's incredible, and how you cope. And I remember 2 years ago at this time when we had the lockdowns, and I was drinking more because I did dry January that year. I did a great job. I probably, up until my birthday, which was last week, and 2 years ago. So from January 1st to March 2nd, I probably drank like 2 or 3 times, and that was it. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling healthier. I'm looking better. You know, I'm getting color in my face again, finally, instead of looking so gray. And then all of a sudden we pull the plug on society. And then, so what do you do? What do you do when you're in that situation? Well, you got to cope. And for people who are like, my livelihood's gone, and then they start drinking again. And luckily, I think a lot of people, now that AA meetings are not virtual anymore and they could actually see people and do things again, they're getting the help that they need. But I think a lot of that damage has been done, and in some ways it's irreversible. So I'm glad that you were able to kind of get it. And again, you're not swearing off alcohol for good, because you don't want to do that to yourself. You don't want to say, nope, I will never have a sip of alcohol in my body again, because you can't really say that right now. It really is a day-by-day situation.
But I can honestly say I have no interest in drinking right now, like zero.
Right now,
I don't know.
yes.
I don't know what it is, but like I have no desire. I went to a bar yesterday. I just, for some reason, something clicked in my head. I don't know what it was. I think it's because I see a path now. I see light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, okay, I just got to go continue this route. And I also, there's a lot of things I want to accomplish still. I realized I want to, like, at one point be in the best shape of my life one more time before it's all said and done. I want to go back to when I was 25, when I was playing basketball every day. I was lifting. I want to get back to that version of me at one point. It sounds superficial, but I remember I felt I was at my best at that point. I want to do that one more time. And I think it's obtainable. I think if I put my mind to it, not to sound cliche, I can do that.
Do you need any testosterone? Like, do you feel like you're not as strong or agile as you used to be, that you might need a little bit of a boost? Why not just go on steroids? Why not? You're not competing at anything. You could do it.
So I can end up like Aaron Berg. I'm just kidding. Anyways,
I just want to see progress photos. Like I'll follow you on Instagram, and I'll just see, like, here's where I was on day 1, and here's where I am on day 35, and look at my 6-pack shredded abs. And you're doing the beefcake photos, and
I can't
then all of a
do
sudden,
that.
Then I see you wearing like that maple syrup tan that they go and do those competitions.
I can't do that. I remember Jason Lawhead did that, like where he put a before and after photo. I was like, oh, it just seems cringe.
It's douchey, yeah.
It's like really cringe. Like, look at me.
Well, women that do here, I will say this. I don't mind it if you're somebody who's a fat piece of shit who's 500 pounds and you lost 350 pounds. You go, okay, I could see that. But if you're a guy who's just trying to get like a, you had no abs to, okay, I could see like a 4-pack of abs now. Yeah, not necessary. Not necessary. And then girls will do it all the time. Like, oh, look, I've been dieting for 2 weeks and I've been doing intermittent fasting and juice cleanse. And look at me, I lost 3 pounds. Great. And we all have to be so proud of you. Just this narcissistic attitude on social media.
I don't want to like celebrate people on social media because they drop 15. I'm good. Like if I feel good and people go, hey, you look pretty good. That's all I need. Like if I'm walking around and I'm good. I don't need.
From January 1st last year till the end of January, I lost like 15, 20 pounds, but I didn't really broadcast it anywhere. No one knew that I lost it. I did it for myself. I didn't do that this year because I had gotten promoted and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do dry January. And then I get promoted at work and then I'd say, hey, let's go celebrate. And then the next night it's like, hey, you got a promotion. Let's go celebrate. Oh, fuck. What am I going to do?
It's March 7th and you're still celebrating your promotion.
I still am. Yeah. And then I got a vacation next week, all week, and your home adopted state of Florida.
Where are you going to be again?
I'm going to be in just north of Fort Lauderdale, a little sea town called Lauderdale by the Sea.
Lauderdale by the Sea. Let me see how far that way is.
That is. I think it's about 3-something hours. I think you got to take the toll road. Bring your Sun Pass.
Oh, the Sun Pass is installed. Okay, we are. See what we got here.
Because if not, we'll have to do Mondays with Mazer on Sunday.
That's okay. We make it we call it.
That's what we do, yes, because we're broadcasting professionals here.
It's 4 hours and 15 minutes, but then yeah, that's pretty far.
Everything is 4 hours from everything.
It's like everything's like 2.5 hours.
Like Tampa to Miami, Miami to Key West, Miami up towards Jacksonville. There's a lot of driving in a state that you don't think so because it's so, it's like a peninsula. You go, oh, it's like when you're driving on 75, you're heading down south, you just cross over from Alabama into Florida. You're like, I'm in Florida. I'm going to put my sunscreen on right now. No, motherfucker, you still have 3.5 hours until you get to anywhere near a beach.
Like I constantly drive this coast, like going up. I drive up, like I'm going to be in Cape Coral. I have a couple one-nighters. I Fort Myers, Naples, Port Charlotte. It's all the same fucking highway. I go back and forth. And I was talking to Brewer about that because he's doing it right now too. Mm-hmm. Obviously he's doing sold out shows and I'm doing, half empty rooms, but I'm getting used to it. It's almost like when I was living in Cleveland, I could drive anywhere in Cleveland without MapQuest. Like I could just go anywhere, and I'm getting to that point now where I know where to go. It's kind of cool.
Well, is it now? Does the drive get boring that you're looking at coast the whole time?
Yeah, a little bit, but I'm listening to music or podcasts or whatever the case may be. Keep myself entertained, or I'm talking to myself like a lunatic, or I'm talking to you or or Godfrey or Florentine or whoever.
Yeah, I'll get this. I'll break the fourth wall again here. I'll get a call from Chad when he's on his way to a gig, like whether it's in Fort Myers or something, and I hear, Tony, what's going on, man? I'm like, oh, Chad's in his car. He's going to a gig, isn't he?
We used to do those phone calls. Me, Dalton, and Joe Howard. We would call each other, and the first thing they would say, like, "Where's your road gig?" I go, "Why? What? Why?" He goes, "I hear it. Like, where are you going?
Barely hear you.
Why are you calling right now?"
By the way, speaking of gigs, I have one this Wednesday to promote.
All right.
I'm with Ray DeVito at Tommy's Bar and Grill.
Oh, wow.
In North Ridgeville, Ohio, not with Ramon Rivas, as I sent you in the text message. It's with Brett Thomas, who's a young comic from our area. Yeah, Ray DeVito, myself, and Brett Thomas at Tommy's Bar and Grill in North Ridgeville, Ohio. So I'm doing a one-nighter for maybe $20.
So Ray's really getting it done out there in Cleveland, huh?
He's moving and shaking.
Here we are, Tommy's Bar and Grill. It's 3-4.
Yeah, it's next to a giant eagle.
Let's get a look at this venue that you're playing. Ooh, nice little patio there, right?
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. I don't know. See, we get some Google images on your gig coming up. Ooh. Oh, it's in a plaza bar.
Yes, it's one of those places.
Have you played this place before?
I have not. I know nothing about it. I just only know where it is. I have the flyer here on my phone if anyone wants to see it. I'll post it on my Instagram.
Ooh. Wow. They got carry out. $8.95 lunch specials. Help wanted.
What the hell kind of bar is this? What am I doing?
Get an
Why am I still
application.
doing stand-up?
Ray should get a fucking application. Fucking Ray.
Good old Ray DeVito. He's making things happen in Northeast Ohio.
You know what's funny is Ray's trying to create some like weird thing between us so he can get Patreon. So he's like he's fallen into the Kevin Brennan drama line. Like he's fully bought into what Kevin Brennan does. Him not even realizing Kevin's gonna burn him one day. So he's team Kevin right now because I guess Kevin's got him like 7 Patreons. So he's trying to create this drama and this tension that doesn't exist between us. So people will tune into his podcast. He's like, I see it online. Like Bob Levy's like, you guys need to talk it out. He goes, I'm going to address it on my Patreon this Sunday.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
And it's like, oh, I got to sign up to hear what Ray has to say about what's going on. So
I don't know.
contrived.
Ray is, you've known Ray since the beginning of doing stand-ups. Ray's known Kevin Brennan, obviously, since he probably moved to New York and everything, but
he didn't meet him until a couple of years ago when I put him on Burning Bridges.
Oh, really? I figured
that
they had done gigs or something in the past.
No, they never met, or at least Kevin never knew who he was. And I remember Ray coming to me. He's like, "Hey man, you think you can hook me up and get me on Kevin's show? I got a big show at Caroline's I need to promote." So I texted Kevin. I go, "Hey, can you get my buddy Ray? He's from Cleveland. He lives in New York. He lives in Astoria." He's like, "Yeah. Tell him to come on Monday or whatever." And that's how they met. So I was the one who built the bridge between them. And now he's
burning the bridge.
No, he's full on Kevin Brennan. Like, yeah, man, he's going to take me to the promised land. Him and Bob Levy's like, yeah, man, he's the voice of this generation. Kevin's he's going to lead the way. And meanwhile, they don't realize they're going to be fucked over at one point completely. It's going to happen.
Well, hey, I'm up against it, as we say in radio. I have Zoom meetings and I got to put new music into our system, like Butthole Surfers and Cranberries. And yes, but I'm up against it. I have another Zoom call I got to get to right now, actually.
All right. We want to plug before we leave?
Yes, yes, it's the Check Your Brain podcast. You could check it out on Patreon at patreon.com/Tony Mazur, and free every Wednesday. I think this Wednesday is my Gino podcast. So you could listen to us plug a date that never actually happened.
There it is.
Because it was recorded several weeks ago.
All right, go listen to Tony, and we will see you next Monday with Mondays with Mazur. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Yeah. I'm still here, bitches. I want to go ahead and plug my shit. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we do this every single Monday. Mondays with Mazur, behind the paywall, Patreon only. We just talk like we used to. I've talked about it. We talk on the phone twice a week, and we're like, let's just record our calls. And that's what it is. It's just us shooting the shit. You're a fly on the wall. I hope it's interesting. I hope you enjoy it. We talk freely, honestly. This is definitely not going to get us ahead in the industry. So if you like it, great. Tell a friend, share it on your page. For everyone on Patreon, continue to support, even if it's in the $3 range. We really do appreciate it. I will continue to build this podcast throughout the month of March. Like I said, a lot of my energy, a lot of my focus is going back into this podcast because I realize I get the messages. It means people's day to day. People are doing shit, like real productive shit, and they need an escape. I used to be a landscaper way back in the day, and I used to listen to Jim Rome when he was on the radio. I'd have a little Walkman transistor radio, but it helped me get through the fucking day because I'd be weed whacking, mowing lawns, and I put in Jim Rome, and from 12 to 3, I was into it. I was hooked. I was an escape. So that's what I try to be, and I hope I will continue to try to be. And if you listen to me on just iTunes, please leave a 5-star review, or Amazon or Google Play, YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to this podcast. Please share it with a friend. Tell a friend if you can. I got to build this grassroots style. I don't have Joe Rogan to put me over. It's not happening. Maybe one day I'll get in Joe's radar, but I'm not counting on it. So guys like Tim Dillon, guys like Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, who got that Joe Rogan bump, the influence of other podcasts and support of other podcasts it's very crucial, but I don't go seeking that out. So I rely on the people that like this and the listeners to share it with their friends. That's the only way it will continue to get bigger and continue to build. And I do appreciate everyone, including the $100 tier of Vinny Cash. Let's pull it up. Gunt Liquor, my guy. He just actually sent me a message today saying you should get Ashley Cummings on. And I had to remind him that she's been on twice, but she'll be back on again. She likes to jump into my live streams quite a bit. Lisa Stewart. I want to read a couple $100 sponsors because they're the ones that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money a month. And I want to make sure they get the love they deserve. And I appreciate it. And Jared Thompson, and Steve, just plain old Steve. Again, if you have a sponsor, an agenda, you're running for something, and you want to do the $100 tier a month, send me a message. I will promote it like no other. I did that with Jeff Levine and his Oak City hot sauce, and you saw what it did. It went from me to Bob Bickerstaff, Aaron Berg, Chrissy Mayer, Schema. It went everywhere. So word got out. People were buying it by the bulk. His sales went up. So I want to continue to do that for small business, or even just big business for that matter. But let's be realistic. We'll start small. But I got some shows coming up. I'm going to be at the Chicago Improv this weekend, Thursday through Sunday. Make sure you come out there. Schaumburg. I'm in and out. I literally get in that afternoon, driving to the show. I'm not even checking into the hotel, doing the show, coming out, checking into the hotel, and then I leave Sunday after the show. So if you're in Schaumburg, please come out, see me and the great Godfrey. And I got some one-nighters throughout the month. But for the most part, I will be doing the podcast this Wednesday. Sit Down Zumock will be out on Patreon with Esther Koo if all goes well. And that's that, guys. Thanks for the support. Sincerely, I appreciate it. I'm the captain. I'm the Z-Man. I'm Florida's greatest. I'm Florida's most wanted. I'm the has-been baller. I'm the lost and ship dip consumer. All of it. The man in black, the 2.4 GPA general studies major from Kent State University. I am that guy. I will continue to be that guy. I don't change. The world changes. I don't conform. The world conforms. I got your back. That's a wrap. Good night.